Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Thank you to all for joining us for this edition of the GMF webinar series. On a monthly basis, we host webinars featuring a new topic related to GMF programs. And today we are excited to have Olivier Capon and Mintu Naidier from the Canadian Institute for Energy Training with us to introduce our Housing Providers Toolkit, showcasing the innovative cash flow calculator. My name is Jillian Young, and I'm a project coordinator with the capacity development team at FCM's Green Municipal Fund. We are also joined today by my colleague, Emma Kirk, who will be doing more of the back end support if anyone needs any help with technical support. On behalf of FCM, I'd like to begin this session by acknowledging that I am joining you from the lands that have been inhabited by Indigenous peoples for thousands of years. As we move forward with our commitment to reconciliation, FCM acknowledges with gratitude that our head offices are located on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nations. As an organization, we endeavor to unlearn colonial mindsets and practices, grow in knowledge, and adapt ways of working. As we continue to build meaningful relationships, recognize the historic and ongoing contributions of Indigenous peoples, and honor their leadership and partnership in shaping the strengthening communities across the country. We encourage you to add where you are joining us from as we begin this webinar. Before we dive in, I have a few housekeeping items just to get through. As we move through our presentations today, I ask that you submit your questions to the Q&A box as they come up. We will address all questions at the end of the presentation during the question and answer period. You're welcome to ask questions through the chat box as well during the presentation in the language of your choice. And we will keep an eye out for any clarification questions that can be addressed during the presentations. You also have the option to listen to the presentation in your language of choice by selecting the simultaneous interpretation button and selecting either French or English. Before we get into our presentation today, I would like to provide a quick introduction. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities has been the national voice of municipal government since 1901, representing more than 90% of Canadians. We bring local priorities to the national agenda, and together with municipalities, we're securing historic federal investments in communities of all sizes. FCM's largest program, the Green Municipal Fund, is a $1.6 billion program funded by the Government of Canada and delivered by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to support municipal efforts in pushing forward innovative, sustainable development. Since 2000, GMF has funded many bold municipal initiatives. Other outcomes include sharing lessons learned across the country, creating much-needed resources, and bringing new environmental solutions to light. This fund is open to municipalities and their partners across Canada, large and small, in every province and territory. The Sustainable Affordable Housing Initiative helps affordable housing providers build and retrofit energy-efficient, affordable homes that emit less than greenhouse gas. Before I turn things over to our presenters, here are our objectives for this session. Our goal today is that you will walk away being able to learn how to use the innovative project cash flow calculator and understand how to evaluate the energy saving potential for various housing projects, including retrofit and new builds. We will have a post-session survey at the end of this webinar, so I highly encourage you to take a few minutes to complete that and just let us know how we did during this session with meeting the objectives. I will now turn the floor over to Olivier.
Director with the Canadian Institute for Energy Training. I'm here with my colleague Mintu, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, who's a senior analyst with Econolair, CIT's parent company. So firstly, we're delighted to be here today. We've been working with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities on this toolkit for close to a year. And so it's been a great experience. We also came into this project not necessarily knowing exactly what we would end up creating, and it was made to be that way because obviously we want to hear from you, the housing providers, to see the types of things that were interesting to you in order to get started on the project and start developing the tool. So, Jillian, if you can just share the first slide, please. Thank you. So we'll just tell you a bit about CIT quickly, then about how we approach this. As I said, we went into it without any particular preconceived notion so that we could learn directly from the housing providers, the types of things that were relevant to you, both from an opportunities perspective and from a challenge perspective as it pertains to energy efficiency. And then Mintu will bring you through the 4 tools that we've created, and we'll have a little exercise for you as well. So we'll put you to work only quickly, maybe for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll wrap up after the exercise, and we've gone through all the tools, and we'll provide some time for you to ask us any questions that you have. Can I get the next slide, Jillian? One more? Okay, so about CIT, if you're not familiar with the Canadian Institute for Energy Training, in essence, we are the largest provider of energy efficiency and decarbonization training in Canada. We train about 3,000 or so people across Canada each year. We're primarily focused on energy management, decarbonization, and energy efficiency. Why? Because essentially energy efficiency is a bit of the gateway to go towards 2 things: operational cost reduction and also decarbonization of the building. So that's why we're specifically focused around energy efficiency. So our programs offer, our programs are now getting numerous, more and more numerous each year. We're at about 42 programs or so per year across 7 different learning paths, some of which we were able to leverage in the creation of these tools, and others that are kind of ancillary to the types of tools and knowledge that we'll be sharing today. So we train both public and private groups. We run about anywhere between about 190 to 200 sessions a year. And I'm happy to say that we've been working with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to support all of the programs within the FCM's program that Jillian was talking about before, and the funding that goes with it. So from the Sustainable Affordable Housing Program through to the Building Retrofit Program and the Community Energy Financing Program. We also have partnerships with a lot of the utility providers and also the agencies responsible for conservation demand management programs from Ontario to BC to Nova Scotia and so on and so forth. So we're well represented there, and often our projects, our capacity building projects and training support the types of things that they're trying to put into the market to achieve this energy transformation that we're all working towards. Jillian, can I get the next slide? One more. Thank you. So the purpose of this toolkit, we've gone down the road of creating different toolkits before, but what we really wanted to do with this one is create some documents and some leading tools that could allow board members and senior leadership to make informed decisions as it pertains to energy efficiency. So really what we wanted to do in order to do this is look at we want to look at the financial side of things. We want to look at the decision-making landscape and how you come to make decisions. We want to look at, of course, funding, because ultimately funding is going to be important in order to get any type of energy efficiency projects off the ground. And we want to look at timelines as well in order to get things done. So in the grand scheme of things, what we're hoping that you'll all be able to do is we're hoping that in your projects, you'll be able to look at energy efficiency and look at how it can be prioritized within your operational and capital planning, and be able to infuse these projects within your plans going forward, both in the immediate and in the midterm and long term, of course. Jillian, can I get the next slide? So as I was saying before at the beginning, we wanted to go into this with a blank slate and no preconceived notions. And so therefore, what we decided to do is we decided to run focus groups. And we specifically wanted to run focus groups that would combine large and medium providers and also small providers, because of course we want each of the voices in the affordable housing community to resonate, and we didn't want to just capture one of these three groups, but rather all three. So we ended up holding two focus groups, one for large and medium and another one for small. And we also held focus groups in French as well. It was easy for us because myself and our team, including Mintu, are are perfectly bilingual. Actually, French is our first language, so that was a pleasure for us to do. And I think we feel that we did a good job in capturing the type of feedback that you were all able to provide to us. Using this feedback, we settled on the creation of 4 tools that cover the financial side of things, the decision-making side, and the process side, as I was saying earlier. Also, the other thing that I think it was beneficial in this process is that we were able to, with the help of the SCM, earmark a housing provider that gave us a very good example of a case study and how you can go from doing very little to a lot in energy efficiency, and also how an energy efficiency project benefited that particular community, the Pine Tree Hill community. And Mintu will get into that both by showing us the outcome and where you can find that documentation. Julian, can I get the next slide? Thank you. So ultimately, we ended up creating, as we said, 4 tools. The first is the process roadmap and the timeline. The second is an energy project lifetime cash flow calculator that will actually demo for you, and that will be part of the exercise that will, the interactive exercise that we'll do, that we'll conduct for you guys in about 15 minutes or so. Then we'll look at the funders list, which is essentially a database that you'll be able to leverage, and that should be kept up to date on the FCM site. That will give you insights as to where you can find financing options for the different projects you want to run. And finally, as we were talking about before, we've got a great case study that we hope will both inform and empower you as well. Julian, next slide. Okay, you I'm sure have been distributed these tools by the FCM, and I know that Jillian's going to put them in the chat as well. But just in case, if you do want to pull out your phones, maybe we can keep this up there, Jillian, for maybe 30 seconds, and people can just scan these QR codes. But of course, we would encourage you to utilize them as much as possible, these 4 tools, and spread them around the community as well. Ultimately, they are there for you. And we would love also to get your feedback, and also to hear how you're enjoying using the tools and how they're beneficial to you, because after all, they are made for the affordable housing community. Now we're gonna switch gears. I'm gonna hand it over to my colleague Mintu, who's gonna bring you through the tools and also to our exercise. Mintu, over to you.
Thank you, Olivier. Jillian, I'll take over the sharing. Hopefully it works well. Let me know if you see my screen.
Yep, I think you've
Perfect. So like Olivier said, I'll be taking over for explaining the different toolkits. So before that, I just want to talk about a little bit about energy efficiency, because when we talk about energy efficiency, people think about, a lot of investment, a lot of budget, but I really want you to focus on the fact that energy efficiency is also, the small measures like changing your lighting, decreasing the infiltration in your buildings through air sealing with your windows and your doors. And actually, we have seen that those small measures can actually decrease your energy consumption by 15%. So sometimes I don't understand why people are not really going and get those projects and apply for the grants. So I really want to encourage you to go get those grants. It's possible to decrease your energy consumption. It's possible to reduce also your energy costs. So I will get through get through the different toolkits, and you can see how easily you can actually do that. So the first thing that I want to present is the process roadmap and timeline, which is actually, you can see on the website. It's present the different grants that are provided by the GMF program. And the first one being the planning phase. which is actually a grant that offers to housing provider wishing to initiate their retrofit energy project. Just to start the project at the beginning, to do the pre-evaluation, the pre-planning, and to see what are your options and through the buildings, what are your opportunities. The second one is the study phase because when you do an energy efficiency project, like much of the other project, you need a study phase. You need to implement and do some feasibility study. So the study phase is mostly for that, to do the assessment and then the pre-construction studies to go forward. And then the other one is the capital project, which is actually the grant for implementing the project. And the capital project is offering support for retrofitting existing buildings and high energy efficiency standard, and for the construction of new net zero energy building. And what we mean by retrofit, there is two terms you will see. There is the retrofit and deep retrofit. When we say retrofit, it's about 20% of energy reduction, and then the deep retrofit is 50% of energy reduction. And then the last one is the pilot project, which is a grant that provides funding to test innovative and ambitious technical process or business model. And for this type of project, they expect actually to achieve significant GHG emission and GHG emission and energy reduction. So going forward, I will present the type of process for the grant to actually have the grant, and all the different colors are each representing a type of financing. And as you can see, it's pretty much easy. This is the same step for actually all the different grants, pretty similar, except for the implementation one, the grant one. So the first thing is it's simple. You just have to reply to simple question to determine your eligibility, and then fill some application form. After the GMS staff will determine your eligibility for the program, you have to complete the workbook and submit some forms. After that, the GMF will review the application and analyze the project after finalizing the decision on the project funding. And the last step is when you complete your contract with funding and disbursement terms. So this timeline is actually a real life kind of a process, energy efficiency process, and we did that to actually explain to you where do you have to apply your funding. So the first step is identifying your opportunities. What we mean by that is that when you decide to do an energy efficiency project, the first thing that you have to do is do a thorough inspection in your facility. Identify all the opportunities for energy saving, and reducing your GHG emissions. And the second step is defining your goal and objective as an organization. So what do you want to reach? Do you want to decrease your energy consumption by 20%? Do you want to decrease your energy by 30%? Do you want to go to net zero? So this is the step where we have to define your goals. And after that, you can actually apply for the grant, the planning phase funding, to actually build your team. And what do you mean by building your team is having some technical support like engineers, contractor, architects. So you can use that grant to do that and develop an action plan, a real action plan. And after that, you can apply for the study phase funding that will allow you to do the detailed feasibility study. And in the detailed feasibility study, it's actually a report that some consultants are doing in the energy efficiency project to, estimate your project cost, the potential energy savings, the ECMs, we call ECM energy conservation measures or EEM, the energy efficiency measure that you will implement, and the greenhouse gas reduction impacts. After this report, you are eligible to apply for the capital project funding, which will allow you to actually start your project and implement your project, your energy efficiency project. And the last step being evaluating and verifying the project saving rate. We call what we call measurement and verification, which is a step where some consultant will actually verify if the project is generating savings, and are the savings are actually reaching the target that you plan in your detailed feasibility study or your MNV plan, measurement and verification plan. So after that, the second toolkit that I want to show you, which I'm most excited about, is the energy project lifecycle flow analysis. Actually, it's a simple financial analysis toolkit that will allow you to quantify the cost and, assess if a project is worth doing or not, how much funding you will need to actually go forward. And before going into the actual toolkit, I just want to mention some key terms that are used in the financial analysis that you have to know. Maybe you already know it. So the first one being the simple payback, which is defined as the number of years which an investment is paid for itself. It actually, in the energy efficiency world, is actually the energy savings, the annual energy savings on the project cost. And the present value, which is the current value of a future sum of money or a future stream. The net present value, it's the difference between the cash inflows and then the cash outflows. And the savings to investment ratio, which is similar to the simple payback, but here we will use the present value to calculate it. And the internal rate of return, which is the discount rate at which the net present value is equal to 0 to assess if your project is worth doing and on how much time it will be cost effective. The modified internal rate of return, by contrast, which with the IRR, MIRR assumes that positive cash flows are reinvested at the firm cost of capital, which include the cost of debt and the cost of equity. So to present the cash flow analysis, there is two sections, the energy benchmarking and then the cash flow analysis. The energy benchmarking is, as you can see, you can choose your province, put the floor area of your building. You can also put your electricity, natural gas, propane, and light fuel oil consumption. If you have also your energy consumption in gigajoule, the overall consumption, you can put it. And you can define a target like you want 50% reduction, 50% GHG emission reduction, or energy reduction. And there's a summary table just here, as you can see. And okay, yeah, you can see it. And in the summary table, you can see your energy consumption, your energy intensity, which is actually the energy consumption over your floor area. And then it's easier. This is the key, I would say the key thing that we are using in our analysis, the energy intensity, because it's allow you to compare different buildings that have different floor area. And there is the GHG emission reduction, and then you can also see your final energy consumption and final GHG emission after the project. And then the second part is the live cash flow analysis block, where you can put the project cost, annual savings. We will go through it in the example, the case study. You can determine your inflation rate, discount rate, financing rate, and your reinvestment rate. So to let you apply all this, I'll put on the screen the example. I'll give you like 2 minutes because I think we might run out of time. So if you could just open your live cash flow analysis and then plug the numbers and let me know in the comments like what do you got, and I will present the results on screen. I will just wait 2-3 minutes. Go through it. So, yeah, the example was mentioning about a housing provider in Ontario that is 1,000 square meters for full area. So I put the 1,000, and then the electricity, natural gas, propane, and live fuel. It's really hard to see a building with all types, all these four types of energy sources, but it's just for the example. Um, and as you can see, I put a 50% energy reduction and a 50% GHG emission reduction, which allows me to get to 925 gigajoule and then 42.1
I'm just
um,
gonna go.
CO2 equivalent, ton of CO2 equivalent. Um, and for the project cash flow calculator, as you can see, the project cost was at $150,000 dollars. We had an annual saving of $30,000 and operational cost of $15,000. I put all the rates, and I have an NPV and final NPV of $8,166 at year 10, and the NPV is becoming, yeah, at year 10. Yeah, so the cumulative NPV is as 1,166, and the savings investment ratio it says 1.1. It's actually pretty good, but I just want to mention that to do a deep retrofit like 50%, it's the project cost will be actually really higher. We're talking about around 700,000, sometimes to even more than 1 million, depending on the size of the project, the size of the buildings. Um, so yeah, this number I just for the example. And I just want to show you the impact of putting a funding. For example, if I put a $20,000 funding, you can see that the project is becoming beneficial around year 8, 8, 9. So the NPV is now at year 10 is 28,166. So this is just an example for you to actually know how to use the calculator. Um, I will get back to the presentation to continue. Just gonna, oops, sorry. Okay, perfect. So, the second thing is the founder list, which is actually something that we have built with the FCM for you to easily search for grants, for loans and subsidies. Um, I I I will share it again. Actually, I'll just share it quick. I was mentioning, you can select your different type of funding, by region, or by type of grants, if you want a loan, a grant, subsidies, rebates. And you can also search it by names if you want. So yeah, use it and go get your grants, go get your loans or your subsidies to actually start your project. Um, so I'll just get into the case study, which is the final tool. I hope it works. Um, Let me know if you can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the final tool is the case study with the Pine Tree Park mentioned by Olivier earlier, which was actually a great project. I don't know if Erica is in the audience, but I'll say thank you, Erica, for sharing this story. So the story of Pine Tree Park is that before it was a military raider base, and then the owner decided to actually go to net zero. You know, because there was many problem, the problem with the rising energy costs, the energy cost that were actually impacting also the residents, the tenants of those affordable housing. And they did they install many measures that I can say, like for example, high efficiency heating and cooling system, high efficiency hot water system, high efficiency windows, like I was mentioning earlier, air insulation upgrades, and also they installed 1,800 solar panels to actually help them with their net zero goals. Um, and the key thing with this the case study is that the overall cost project was around 3,500,000, and they only took 5% from their direct personal investment, and then the rest was from grants such as the FCM Municipal Green Funds, Efficiency Nova Scotia, Environmental and Climate Change Canada, Low Carbon Economy Fund. And the grants, actually it took several months to get all these grants, and it took actually 24 months, 2 years to actually get all these grants and then go forward with the project. I just want to mention some key takeaways from this case study that will actually maybe help you in your future project. The first one being building a team, because what we have seen in the municipal small, and especially the small municipal and medium, there is a lack of resource. So in order to achieve a successful energy efficiency project, you have to have the technical expertise. You have to have the technical and then the management, all the aspect of energy management. And for in the case of Pine Tree Park, they will help by Verschuren Center for Sustainability and Energy and Environment, which is a former institute of Cape Breton University, that actually help them to do their planning, to do their target, and assist them through all the process. The other thing is multiple funding sources. In this big project, you are allowed to apply as many fundings as you want. I guess there is no, if I'm correct, there's no maximum of fundings. Maybe if I'm not sure, please correct me in the Q&A or in the chat. But you can apply to many fundings, and there's a difficulty with that is the fact, and what we have, the feedback we have received from the municipality is that all the different funding don't ask for the same documents. So it's different deliverables that you have to manage, different expectation, different processes and timelines. So there is opportunity to get municipal grants, but you have to be aware that it's a lot of time management. It's a lot of management. And this third thing is show tangible progress. What Erica was mentioning is that in order to have a successful project, you have to meet with the board of directors. That it's essential to show them the progress that was made and the stage of funding application, as well as to receive feedback. The other key thing that I really want to think about, and I think that people underestimate, is engagement. You have to engage with the community, engage with the people who are living in the buildings, because they may have a feedback that maybe you wouldn't think about. And in this case study of Pine Tree Park, they were talking a lot with the residents to keep them informed about the process. So it's very vital to have to engage with the community to have a successful project. And the last thing is the leverage. And what we mean by leverage is that you have to have a flexible project design. When you decide to do a project, don't design it as, okay, if I will do that project if I have all this funding. Like, you have to think in a way, okay, if I don't receive this funding, what will be my plan B, my plan C? Because sometimes your grants may be refused. You might get lower money at uh, than expected. So when you design your project, be flexible. Like, okay, if I don't receive this grant, what will be my plan B? Can I change my project? Can I do something else? Yeah, so this is the main thing that this is all the key takeaways that I will suggest you think about. And I will finish by mentioning something that Erica said, which is she mentioned that this was a significant transformation for Cape Breton. We really want to encourage other organizations to know that this type of project are possible and is not out of their reach, regardless of scale. So yeah, I just want to finish with that quote, and I really want to encourage you, go get this grant, go get these subsidies, and go get these resources. I know that many programs are giving financial resources, but they're also giving, human resources, technical resources to assist you. So yes, I'll be finished. I'll finish like that.
Thank you, Mintu. And so, Jillian, yeah, we're ready to take any questions that the audience might have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We actually do have a question in the Q&A box.